Hello guys, welcome back to Go Discs. In this installment we're looking at the Winter Willows, we're looking at Spring Follies and Summer Escapades. So these are promo DVDs that were released by the Daily Mail in 2008 to coincide with the release of the complete collection, again from 2008, the first edition of course. And obviously these were free newspapers at the time really, even maybe on the tail end of of what was going on before they sort of got rid of them actually, after many years really. Getting free DVDs, I think, because the government sort of liking it for a budget thing or something, who knows. Shame. It was a great time actually, getting your weekend papers and you get a free DVD inside, if it's a movie, a TV show, whatever. Definitely against in certain newspapers really, but again, pretty interesting stuff. So, obviously we got this one. So this contains 6 stories, this does. 6 episodes, 6 stories. Obviously, Spring Follies and Summer Escapades bundled together, so that'll be interesting. So, yeah, let's not be bare with the brush. Let's go and look at Spring Follies. So this was the original version of Spring Follies was released in 1988, of course, and then it got reissued again in 1995, 2000, and I think again for the 4-season box set as well. So it's one of those VHS tapes that's been reissued constantly all the time. Well, that's sort of like one of the more famous ones, along with the other 3, the original '83 movie and A Tale of Two Toads to some extent. Indeed, so that's pretty. So it's obviously has like more familiar, which you can see them anywhere. You can pick up the original '88 version, '95 version. There's quite a few different versions of that still looking around. So let's go for the episodes. So, first up we got is The Great Steamer. This is from Series 1, Episode 4. In fairness, I do love this episode actually, because just recently Aaron Taylor put on a poll, like, I think every week he puts on, on the, broadcast-wise, of all the episodes from the TV series. And actually, I actually said, this story is probably one of my favourites out of Spring Follies, really. I do like the idea of, characters in peril, of course. The character Billy ends up, not Billy Rabbit, a mouse called Billy, field mouse called Billy, ends up like travelling down to a weir, nearly end up being drowned to his death, really. And obviously Rat and Mole have to come save him using the rowing boat and everything else, Obviously, it's probably, people regard this as not one of the best stories, really, strangely. I just think it's pretty good. I think it's done by Rosemary Sisson as well, and it captures like the sort of threats as well. I think also you have like machinery as well, like the Great Steamer. You only see it briefly, like you hear it, but you don't see it entirely at all. So it sort of alludes like some big powerful machine just coming through or something, and it's like it sort of ruptures. It sort of scares Phil Myers, ruptures the Ratty's place, by the riverbank, and that sort of thing, and obviously I have to go and rescue somebody who's in terrible danger on a glass bottle of all things, which is actually pretty good, very good direction, of course, and animation on that. Even though it's early days, it's very early. It's episode 4 of the first series. It's just really nicely done, really. I do think it's a really good story. I think people gripe with it because there's a couple of reasons why. Because there's no badger or toad in this one. It's just Ratty and Mole in this, which I don't mind. It sort of gives it something interesting. There's a couple of episodes where Toad's absent in maybe a couple, and obviously I think this one it's good. I really, if I don't know if it will make a difference if he's in it or not, or Badger or whatever. It's one of those one of those things really. But it's just a good story. I really do enjoy it. Also, I do like the song "We'll Go Boating" as well. That's another gripe that people tend to have, don't really like the episode as much, even though it's a repetitive song, yes, but it's quite. I get a kick out of it sometimes. I don't know why, but it's just pretty good. Next up we've got is The Lost River from Series 4, Episode 3, if I'm not mistaken. So this, interestingly enough, is from it first came out on the reissue of Spring Follies in 1995. It replaced Paperchase. So obviously, because Paperchase was released as a 1994 seminal VHS watch and play thing with activity book and colouring pens and stuff. And in fairness, Series 4 is great because it's animation. It's peak Wind in the Willows animation, everything else, very the top of the game of this thing, and also the story arc of the railway, the oncoming railway threat. Again, really nice touch to it. This episode really is not one of my favourites. There's quite a few low points in series 4. Really, there's some good high moments as well, some strong episodes, but you get some weak ones as well. Include like within. I mean, with most series, you do get duds in, really. But I do think series 4 has some duds in it, really. I think, and this is probably one of them. It's another Ratty-centric episode involving the river. Obviously, during this time, it's more the railway's more obviously more coming in as a threat really at this point. Certain episodes do tend to use the railway as a sort of plot device in terms of like that sort of tend to use that more so really. Obviously, this episode sort of introduces it, of course, like, they're sort of building nearby, the river gets taken away, of course, Ratty loses it, and it's all somehow just ends up being depressed throughout, and this was one of those things, really. Not one of my favourites, of course, but at least it's included and released on home, it was released on home video, which is good. If it wasn't, if you just released, with Paperchase as well, on 995, you'd probably just be like unknown thing really. You could it'd probably end up I'm glad it did. As long as at least it's not like at least the Lost Rivers doesn't end up like getting home video release like Bricks and Mortar or Tools and Tremors or Up and Run Again, right like that. At least it had its purpose. It did sort of did. I mean, it was sort of set in spring anyway, so yeah. But it's not one of my favourites really. Our series 4 and also from Spring Follies as well. And then we finish off with Spring Follies with Paperchase. So there's no Mayday on this. So throughout the releases, of course, from the original VHS releases, Mayday was included. Always on, from 88, 95, 2000. I'm not sure about the DVD releases though. If it's on there, like the 4 seasons box set. And if it is, I don't know. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Unless it's got replaced. But instead we've got Paperchase on here. Really good story. It's the first episode of series 3. Again, pretty good stuff. Toad, the youngsters, Toad and the Weasels participate in a racing game involving paper really. It's like it's like a marathon type thing really. And obviously Toad and the Weasels cheat most of the time. Toad uses his car, his automobile, and also, flying through, the fields and everything else, just trying and cheat. While the Weasels just, drop off. One comes out and basically wears the number and just basically cheat there. Sort of comes in the end, of course, when they realise, the number's upside down. And obviously, I think a few people spotted Toad as well driving his car. Again, it's a really good story, of course, and obviously, I mentioned before, it was released solely in 1994 as part of an activity book and everything else. Because it did appear on the original Spring Follies in '88, and obviously never had done since really until now. Actually, I think again in the 4 seasons box set. I'm not entirely sure of that. But it's included on here, so we don't have Mayday on this. So it's just great seeing the Lost River and Paperchase on this. Funny enough, Paperchase was actually, some clips were used. If you've ever seen the greatest kids shows, 100 greatest kids shows on Channel 4 back in the early 2001, I think. It is one of the clips there is being used actually. I think it's the only time, in terms of a countdown, the Winter Willows, an episode's been used actually footage from the series really. Only on this one. Again, well, the scene in question, of course, is when, Toad tries to steal Badger's last remaining cream cake, and a cricket ball then goes through his window. And he has I love that scream that Jason does. Like it's like a shriekish scream. It's actually really good. Like it's just like sudden panic. It's like someone actually scared him when he was doing voice recorder or something. Again, pretty good stuff. Where's my cream cake? What's happened to my cream? That's all. Where's my cream cake? Again, really good. Like all the commotion, said, there's one thing on one mind is here. Where's my cream cake? That sort of stuff. It's a really good story, really good stuff. It's it's a good opener for series 3, absolutely. Now moving on to Summer Escapades now. So yeah, interesting. It's interesting really because this one's more interesting really in terms of its reissues and everything else. So it was released in 1987. Then it wasn't released until 1997 and then 2000. I was quite surprised actually because when I first knew, well, when I first knew about the whole reissue thing, like in terms of some recipes, like I say, saying oh, it's released in 1997, like in the autumn for some strange reason. It's like, yeah, it's not bad. That's Wikipedia type stuff, really. Like that could be just fake and just I turned out to be wrong, and it, well, the 97 reissue sort of gives like an interesting, it has a summer look to it, of course, sunflowers and a very blue style to it as well, which I think is very interesting. Very sort of interesting layout to it as well. I mean, 97 Thames video release, VCI release, was something really interesting, really, compared to the original 88 A7 version. Like same as usual. And then in 2000, they had a new different layout. I always thought that, with the 2000 one, I always thought it was the same layout as 97 version. I was totally wrong. Yeah, so I think some Escapades has the more varied covers over time, really, but it's still the same episodes. So yeah, I was pretty surprised by that. It's like, whoa, really? My God. For the 97 reissue, I think it just looks wonderful, really. But let's not be around the bush, of course, and let's do the episodes. So first up we got is the Grand Annual Show, Series 1, Episode 7. I like this one, actually. I think it's a really good one, in terms of, like, there's something interesting about a show, and they're showcasing bits and pieces, of course, like showing them, who's going to win, everything else, Toad and his elderflower wine, I think Mulberry's jam. I'm trying to think it's actually a Mole who's got like a walnut cake or something. It's all that type of stuff, really. And I think with the Weasels, they've got like giant vegetables or something, or something like that, or the youngsters, really. It's been a while since I've checked the episode out. But I do like it. It's really good. It's also a reintroduction to the human characters as well, because you've got the magistrate coming in. I think you've got Reggie and Rosemary. I think they're known as the human couple who Toad steals their car in the film, in the A3 film. They sort of make a appearance as well. They do reappear throughout episodes in Series 1 as well. It's just a really good one, actually. It's a really interesting story. I really do enjoy that. It's probably not someone's best favourite ones, but I do like this one. It's probably a highlight. It's a highlight for me from Series 1 as well. There's quite a few stories from Series 1 that actually are really good. And this is one of them, along with like Great Steamer. Next up we got is Toad Photographer, Series 2, Episode 2. It's always interesting, actually, because, when you look at the broadcast order, how it's been released, how it's broadcast in episode-wise. It's in between two winter episodes, which is strange. Episode 1, Winter Sports, and Episode 3, The Rescue. And, so you have two winter episodes in between a summer episode. It's like a bit bizarre, really. They should maybe just done like, spring, then winter. Just like that, I don't know. But it's just all those things, really. Or maybe do winter, maybe put Winter Sports and The Rescue in between, Winter Sports is episode 1, of course, but make The Rescue maybe episode 13 or something, who knows. It's sort of it's debatable, it is. So obviously we've got Toad Photographer, really good. Toad wants wants to do like a portrait, because of all his ancestors, relatives and stuff scattered around Toad Hall, decides to make his own portrait, of course, and he ends up getting used to a camera, which ends up in failing results, of course. It's good. It is good, I would say. Obviously, it's a favourite among many people as well. In fairness, I don't mind it. I might say it's maybe the weakest, really, for me, for some escapades, really. But it's still enjoyable. I won't say it's not a bad episode. It's never a bad episode. It's probably one I just don't really tend to think of that much as like a all-time classic. Some people do, but I just think it's a good story, really. But I wouldn't say it's probably one of my favourites, really. And then we finish off with a Great Golfing Gamble from Series 2. I think this is like episode 10. I think this is. I'm trying to think off the top of my head again. So yeah, Toad takes up golf because he's sick. He sort of gets bored or sick and tired of croquet, and decides to do something a bit more faster and a bit more energetic. So he takes on golf. The Weasels try and again do a bargain with him, of course, and if we win, we'll take your car and everything else, and it's like that sort of thing. Like challenge him to, you know, that's what they tend to do. That's what the Weasels tend to do, really. You know, with certain episodes, of course. You know, like, you know, Toad gets something interesting that's playful or anything like that. You know, that's all sport related. And they'll say, "We'll challenge you, Toad, Mr. Toad. We'll challenge you, take everything," and that sort of thing in their own cunning ways, really. But again, it's a funny story. I mean, the scene that sort of springs to mind, of course, is when you know, the Chief Weasel and Toad are sort of making the deal, of course. And obviously, Toad is busy whacking the ball, very much like all around Toad that's bouncing all over the place like a pinball. And again, of course, knocks down the Chief Weasel and henchman, of course. And they said, "Oh, God, he's dozed off again." Again, that's just, you know, complete blindside by Toad, of course. Like he whacks the ball and says, "Where's that gone?" And obviously he comes back and it's just knocked down the two weasels, which he thinks, you know, well, they're sleeping really, they're just being lazy or something. But again, it's just like a good, it's Brian Truman's scripts that seem to work, you know. Again, very witty, funny, just interesting really. Same, Rose Anderson's scripts are different, of course, like they have more drama to them really, bit more realness to it. But I do think it's a really good, you know, they're both really good in their unique way they do, which I think is just interesting. Yeah, nothing to say really. So some escapades, of course. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. Been talking about Spring Follies from 1988, which is now now on DVD, of course. You can get it anywhere else, and also some escapades from 1987, which again was released countless times really, on this DVD from 2008. This promo DVD from the Daily Mail. So thank you guys for watching. As always, see you for the next video, and goodbye.